body, it's the facts we bring, yeah. Whoa, yeah. Whoa, oh, oh. Uncle's ting, tis an uncle's ting. Pull up on the body, it's the facts we bring, yeah. Whoa, yeah. Whoa, oh, oh.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Uncles episode. Before we jump into tonight's episode, a quick shout out to Tricky Works. Now, Tricky Works provides tailored relocation and resettling services for individuals and companies moving to Port Moresby. With a structured arrival program for new employees, they help people settle into work quickly without hassle, delivering peace of mind from day one. The support doesn't stop at arrival either. Tricky Work stays connected until you feel safe, confident, and self-sufficient, making the transition to life in PNG seamless and stress-free. Make sure you go check out Tricky Works at trickyworks.com. Now, let's get into this episode 105. I am really grateful to Grace, who's hopping on today, but I'll give you guys a bit of an introduction into her and her life as well. So tonight we're sitting down with Grace. She's an interdisciplinary artist and cultural visionary based in Naarm, Melbourne. She's of Austrian, Hungarian, and proud Papua New Guinean heritage. From the Lavaipia clan of Lese Oalai and Motuan clan Botai of Hanuabada, Grace's practice spans sculpture, curation, creative direction, and community work, grounded in Melanesian knowledge systems. Grace, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How are you going?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. I'm in Palm, so I'm warm, which is nice.
Yes, so always love going back to Palm. Whenever you get off the aeroplane there, you get that first hit of warm air in the face, and then at least it's you came from you went from Melbourne, so it would have been freezing over there, and now you're in beautiful
Yeah.
sunny Palm.
We've had minus degrees overnight, so it's been really cold, and then suddenly being in the heat is nice, and hopefully I don't get sick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hopefully you don't. But we always start off on the uncles with the word of the week before we get into, your life and what you're doing over there in Port Moresby. But what would be your word of the week, Grace?
For me, the word of the week for me is courage. Yeah,
Courage.
courage to yeah. I've had to have a lot of courage in my life, and also this week has to pull something like this off and to really put yourself out there, and for the experiences or internally how I feel, the courage to be able to like hold space for people, to deliver a program, and just to be able to have the confidence to be able to be true to yourself and do the things that you feel compelled to do. It's courage is definitely the word of the week for me.
Oh, that's a great word. And I think when we get into, your story and sharing where you're at now, I think that word really will show to a lot of people out there that are listening in today. But look, let's sort of take it back to where it all began for you. Um, we like to highlight this on the Uncles podcast because I think these are very important times of our lives where we sort of, you look back to where you came from, and then as you grow up, as you move on, you sort of you see yourself in the person that you grow into. So for us to understand Grace, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Vienna, in Austria. Um, yeah, and migrated to Melbourne when I was 3, so really young, and then went to school in Melbourne. I went to an Austrian school, so it was a very sort of unconventional art school, creative school. It's a Steiner school, for those that might know Steiner learning. Similar to a Montessori style education, so very hands-on learning, very creative learning, and yeah, very much enhancing individuals' as their own people instead of sort of being indoctrinated into a system.
Wow, wow. And what were some of your early childhood memories? As I said before, these are, when I look back, I grew up in PNG, so there was a lot of us, playing outside till the lights went off and then or till the sun went down and then you go in and you have dinner. So what were those memories like for you?
Well, because I grew up in a really alternative way of growing up, we weren't allowed to watch TV or anything growing up. So we didn't have a TV. So we were outdoors kids every day, all day, playing in the backyard, the neighbors' houses. We had a little basketball court in the back, and we would be shooting hoops all night, all day, all night until the sun went down. Until Mum would shout from the back door, "Kai kai time," and we would all run inside the house, and time for dinner, time to eat, and yeah. So a big part of my childhood was spent outside, outdoors, playing sports. And also, yeah, like climbing trees and
Yeah.
having cubby house and or just making my own cubby houses. I was a very sort of dreamy kid. Like, I was really sporty, but the other side of me is the really creative side. So like often I would like read my book under the tree outside or fall asleep on the trampoline, take my blanket and have an afternoon nap on the weekends. So a lot of that was like outdoors. A lot of our time was spent outdoors and just like in nature all the time.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, you just brought some memories back for me as well. Climbing trees. That's such I don't know why we did that as kids, but you were just so
Yeah.
drawn to it and very dangerous as well.
Yeah, but there's something nice about being able to like climb a tree and make a tree house or, just have your imagination runs wild and you think, oh, this is my little house. And, so I often would just play like in the tree we had a big oak tree and then we had also an apple tree that I would often also climb up and get the apples and jump down onto the trampoline and jump up again and grab another apple and eat it. So a lot of time was spent, really doing a lot of activities outdoors.
Yeah, yeah. That's so good. And now high school, were you at the same sort of primary school all the way up through high school?
Yeah, yeah. So it goes from kindergarten to year 12
Oh,
and I
wow.
was there the whole time. So yeah, you have your grade 1 teacher is your class guardian from
Yep.
grade 1 to year 7. So
Whoa.
until you're ready to sort of go into your teenage years, you have a guardian that knows you really well, that understands your sensibilities and who you are. And still to this day, she's one of my mentors.
Wow, really? Whoa. That's
She's in her 80s now, so yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And would you say so I know I heard a bit there that you sort of talked about your creative side and would you say when you were in high school, maybe in primary school, you started to notice those, creative tendencies?
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. I was really, believe it or not, I was really, really shy growing up. It was a really white school, so we were the only black family at the school. So I always felt a bit different growing up, and maybe that had something to do with my shyness as well, feeling like I was a bit more introverted because I didn't really know my place either in the world, or I couldn't see myself reflected in anybody else, and also the tendencies, and I think this is inherently PNG, wanting to be outside all the time with bare feet. I was always bare feet everywhere. And I think that my dreaming and my want to also read, like I was always reading books because, of course, we didn't have TV. So my imagination was always running wild with books. And I particularly liked detective sort of stories, fiction sort of stories around detective stories. So Nancy Drew and all these Famous Five and Trixie Bell and all these sort of older books of, mystery and murder. So I think for me, a big part of imagination and play came together to sort of start to lead, I guess, my imagination and my mind to start to wander and create ideas for myself. And, dreaming is a big part of creation. And I think that when you're that young as well, you dream so much more. You imagine so much more. Your creative sort of mind is much more alive. And I think once we get a bit older and we sort of become more indoctrinated into a system or framework of thinking, we're more sort of in tune with the truth of ourselves and our visionary sort of thinking abilities. So I think they were really formative years for my creative sort of mindset to start to wonder and imagine things.
Yeah, and how did you go from, having those thoughts, those feelings, and then, getting to say year 12 and finishing, and then looking at the big bad world out there, and how am I going to sort of tackle these
Mm,
things? Did you go straight into, say, working or university? What happened for
mm.
you after that?
Well, a big part of my sort of creative journey, I think in many ways I wanted to know where my place was in the world. Even though I was a very individualistic sort of person, I could see that I was drawn to sort of music in many ways, because I could see myself reflected in a lot of the artists that I liked. And so I remember one Christmas, my mum, when I was quite young, maybe 8 or something, she gave me a Christmas present, and it was a little small, small package. And I was a bit underwhelmed, when you're like little, you want to have big packages and
Yeah.
big presents. And she gave me this small little present, and I opened it up and feeling a bit disappointed. It was so small, and opened it up. And when I opened it up, I was greeted with Whitney Houston's face for the album "Want to Dance with Somebody."
Or
And that was like, and then for me straight away, because she looked like me, her hair texture was like me, her skin tone was like me, and immediately I was like drawn to her, and I was like, that's me. And in many ways, I have sought out the people that are my people and look like me and like things like me, and so I think in those days, at school, in high school days, I was sort of searching, for where I belonged and stuff. So sport was a huge thing because it was when I was also growing up. So I played state netball and state basketball, and was like really into sport. But then I was really into music as well. And then I loved visual art. So sort of these intersecting parts of myself was like the really feminine side and the really like nurturing and feminine side, and then the really masculine strength and strong sort of energies that I have this, I guess, polar opposite sort of experience as a person. So I really, in many ways, going through high school and then finishing high school, a huge, I guess, catalyst for me to be drawn to a subculture was music and hip hop and R&B, and so I really loved that genre. And after school had finished, I had gone straight into uni and was doing interior design.
Mhm.
And then I heard about FUBU, which is a big American label in the 90s. And they were needing, because they had an Australasia office opening up, and they were needing an assistant, production assistant. And so I thought I need a part-time job while I'm at uni. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then immediately I loved it. And because I had all the skill sets of drawing and I knew that genre back to front because that was my jam, I was like, you know, creating these sort of spec sheets for our production company. And then everyone's like, you can really draw, you can really design. And I was like, oh yeah, I love all this stuff. And so they were like, you need to do design, you need to like be designing. So yeah, so that was sort of the transition into work life. So it started very young for me, at 19 years of age. And needless to say, I just dropped out of my course because I was like, well, I've got a job and I love what it is, and the ability to travel around the world and go on buying trips, and the head office was in New York, so I got to live in New York as well. And so yeah, it was a big part of I guess ways that I could channel my creativity and then marry it with a professional life and also get paid. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And would you say it was during that early period of your work life where you sort of understood your passion and your purpose, or did that come earlier or did that come after?
Well, I'm the eldest of my siblings, so I'm the eldest in the family. So I would say natural sort of leadership qualities are very much inherently part of my makeup.
Yeah.
And I think that at the time, it was exploring the dimensions and the ways in which I could channel things that I loved, but it was definitely not purpose. It was just more about experience
Mm.
and passion, experience and passion, which was lucky that I got to have those things. I'm really grateful for those moments. But I think after when I was 23, I had my son, and my son was born with the umbilical cord around his neck and was born with cerebral palsy as a result. And so I think once I had him, and I very much needed to understand the meaning of life and question those things at 23 years of age, very young to think about these huge questions like what is the meaning of life? Why are we here? What is the purpose of us being here? How do you reconcile a life that you thought you might have? And how do you live out what you're now facing with courage, with, love at the core, and the ability to come to peace. It's a little bit emotional for me, like, because when I think about it, I've been through a lot in these years. But I think, I think one of the things that I notice is very inherent to my makeup is also that my mum is very much a nurturer, and that's very much my qualities as well, that I, as the eldest sibling as well, have taken on and look after the siblings, and then have been able to look after my son in those ways too. But I think that the purpose element of life really came to a full understanding once he was born, and once I started to really have the long sort of commitment to understanding life on a very deep level rather than on a surface level, which was exactly the paradoxal existence of what I was living before, being in this glamorous world and being in, traveling the world and going on these buying trips, which was hard work, but it was also very glamorous, and then having the life that I had with my son. So what I've understood with my life also is that I am always presented with very paradoxical experiences, and somewhere in between I exist, and somehow I work out how to thread those pieces together to make sense of everything.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. And because you not only have to, I'd say, juggle your life as a mum, but also you were traveling, trying to get this career off the ground as well. So
Mm.
like whenever we talk to, and we've talked to a lot of women who are doing, some amazing things, and they're mamas and they're, really killing it in their own right.
Mm.
So it's like hats off to you guys for really doing that. Because
Mm.
I see those sorts of things. Like my mum did the same thing as well. Like, she's grew up in a village, then had to sort of fend for herself and make her own way through life. And now there's me now sitting in Australia because of everything she's done. So uh,
Yeah,
hats off to you for doing all of that. But
thank
look, take
you.
take us through, and I would say your resume is, it's quite amazing, all the work that you've done so far, especially in the creative space. But
Mm.
take us through sort of that experience or your first early experiences in the art space in Melbourne. Um,
Mm.
and we can go into sort of things that you're currently doing now as well.
Sure. Um, so after my son was born, I had to, take a breather and just uh, a big pause on my career, because obviously that didn't take precedent over what I was facing. And this is real life stuff, so I really needed to take a step back and just really readjust my alignment. Where is the equilibrium inside of my life? And then how do I survive through all of these things? So really important questions that someone has to face. And I think you only really have to face the depths of those things once you go through really deep, significant, maybe ruptures or hardships in your life. And obviously everything is relative to the person and what they're experiencing. But for me, I had to really think about, you know, how do I adjust to the life that I now have when I thought that it was going to be a different trajectory? And how do I stay true to the things that I feel calling me, compelling me to follow a pathway of creativity? Because I know that that is really important to me. But also be faced with survival. Like, how do you survive then? If you are a carer full time, how do you work within a 9 to 5 sort of existence and then have to also care for somebody full time 24/7? So of course you can't, because you're only a human being and you only have 24 hours in a day. So and you only have a bandwidth of what you're capable of doing. And caring is a very, very different way of living as well. Everything you're sacrificing for the person, and you have to carry them through life. And so in many ways I had to readjust in how I was going to find a path for myself, which then led to, well, I have to design the life that I need to fit into the framework of what my actual responsibilities are. So, which then sort of, I guess, ignited the entrepreneurial spirit in me, to design a life of my professional world and ways to survive, as well as balancing being a mother and a carer. And I was a single mother pretty much since my son was sort of born. So doing that, was really, uh, quite isolating, because a lot of people can't relate to those things that I was experiencing. But also, how do I survive, and how can I implement my skill sets that I had acquired before while working for a few years in the professional world. And so it's I sort of started doing some creative direction for some brands. And then I was like seeking out, ways in which I could propose different ideas, conceptual ideas for different brands. I also knew a handful of different celebrities. So I was like doing some styling for different celebrities around, and which took me to a few different, experiences outside of Australia as well. And yeah, and it really, when you need to survive and when you need to care for your family, you will do anything to make the thing work. And yeah, I worked really hard to try to, yeah, survive. But yeah, it was hard at times. It was really hard, and it was also really rewarding in many ways as well, because when you do have to apply yourself, when you don't have the tools, you need to garner the courage to be able to, work out how you're going to find those tools, and then be, equipped with those tools to then use that to your advantage and be able to build, your own business and everything. So, and in many ways, because I did feel quite isolated with my experiences as a carer and a young mum with a child with a disability, I didn't quite know, again, my place in the mother world, and because I couldn't relate to a lot of mums. Like, they were talking about their children and, the milestones that they were meeting, crawling, walking. And my son is quadriplegic, so he's in an electric wheelchair. He's 22 now. And so, I needed to work out, where my place of belonging was again. And so in many ways, I already knew how to do that I had this skill set of knowing how to do that when I was younger. So I needed to fine tune how I could do that in my 20s now. And so, I did that by, well, I'm a Papua New Guinean woman. I am really creative. I feel really drawn to advocacy and, strength building for my peers and people around me and the community, and of course my son. So yeah, using those sort of elements, I then started to harness and build communities around me that I could feel like a sense of belonging. And if I felt like that, they would have also responded to that and needed that in their lives too. So yeah.
Yeah, wow. And is that where, Art House, B1, B Collective, so
Yeah.
all of those feelings and, that motivation, that's what led you to, those three things?
Yeah, so it was definitely a sense of, how do I build a community?
Mm.
How do we have a place of belonging? How do we activate experiences and things for each other that resonate with our spirits and our heart and our culture and the things that we want to see ourselves experience together? And in many ways, I realized that actually what I've been trying to build the whole entire time with all these communities is really a village life. It's when I really looked at it, I was like, I'm actually just trying to build a replica of what contemporary in a Western world village would look like and feel like. And so, having family around, I host people all the time at my house for kai kai. I'm a keen cook. I'm a good cook, and so, everyone comes to my house and we have kai kai together. And I just blast it over, often socials or just on WhatsApp messages or whatever, and just like, come over. I'm making kai kai, and people just come over to my home. And so in many ways, I realized that I'm trying to build a village in our Western sort of world, and really because I needed it, and I'm pretty sure because people responded to it that they needed it too.
Yeah, that's amazing because I did I had a look at your current platforms and just read through a bit about how it's sort of championing your underrepresented creatives, basically giving them a voice that they probably didn't have, or an opportunity to sort of put their art on a platform or into a space, like you said, a village where people could appreciate it. Like I'm sure, as you said, it would have taken a lot for you to get it to that point, especially for those people. But like, how rewarding is it, I guess, for yourself to see those people, have a platform and use your platform?
I mean, when I can, pitch something to Beats by Dre, and when I get to contract young creatives, to come into the job and deliver the job. Because what I didn't have in Australia, in America was very different. People like me existed in professional spaces, but because I grew up in an era where there wasn't enough representation of people that looked like me. I grew up in an era where our magazines would never have like a brown person, let alone a black person, in the magazine. So Dolly and Clio magazines and all these sort of magazines where they were my formative years. They were when I was like a teenager and I never saw myself represented. And so in many ways, that continued into the professional world in my 20s where that still hadn't shifted. So I saw an opportunity to champion how so many people of color can actually contribute to the space within the media, fashion world, brand world, commercial sort of world. But they never got the chance. And so, I wanted to be able to drive that and champion those people and to shift, obviously, systemic foundations as well and build a new foundation of how we start to restructure the professional sort of world and experiences that people can actually have. Because it's a dominated space that's like really white as well, it was really important that they had the protection around it as well. So we also, as part of every job, we also implement a mentorship program so that we have emerging creatives coming into the space and learning from us. So we're imparting our experiences, our skill sets, and our mentorship so that we're guiding the next sort of generation to be able to then, get jobs and have opportunities and everything. And it's been so deeply rewarding. I actually I haven't had much time, honestly, Richie, to just like sit and with a cup of tea on an island and think about all of those things because, just pausing for a second and talking to you right now to think about those things, I can say I'm really proud. Like, I'm really proud that there is legacy there, that the next generations, they don't have to have it as hard as, I had it growing up, and that there are opportunities for them and there are ways that they can use their creativity to sustain their livelihoods, but also, more importantly, to be true to themselves as well, which I think is the beauty about the creative world. And, because we're all born from creativity, we're all born from the creative source. And so it's really beautiful that when you get to see somebody really living out their truth, and if they get to pay their bills and pay for food and all those things with that opportunity, that's the ideal situation in this world, I feel. If we can do those things, it's so much better for all of us, because also we also don't feel repressed as people either. We can also, experience the depths of what we have to offer to the world. We can also live out ideas and visions, because, when you're a creative person, you have a lot of visions and you have visionary thinking, and it's a chance for you to be able to tell the world about, what you have to offer as well. So when I get to do that in a way with brands and reshift the focus on, the creative team from behind to the front facing, so those that are also part of the campaign or the models or whatever the selection process is, from the back end to the front end, and it becomes this entire ecosystem. And what I'm really interested in with my work is often looking at the ecosystems, because what we really need to, what I understand is that we need ecosystems. We need ecosystems to be able to thrive, like nature does. nature thrives because it has an ecosystem. We also need to implement that into our sort of Western framework, because that isn't the way that, you know, it exists. It is like a hierarchical system. So it's like this, and instead of being like this, circular. And so once we start thinking about, you know, reframing things, because it does take a little bit of effort to reframe things. And obviously it takes a lot of effort to teach people, to hold space for people. So you do have to have patience. You do have to have the willpower to like endure and, you know, persevere. That's another good word, but persevere and not give up on ideas. Yeah, the more people can benefit, because you're building something where it's deeply considered for everybody to benefit and profit from.
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. And you know, now you're in beautiful Port Moresby, back for the Returning Home exhibition and program. You know, give us an insight into that. Were you a part of the planning of this concept from the start? Were you brought on board? You know, give us an insight into Returning Home.
Yeah, so I just sort of uh, I just sort of thought that there is an opportunity for us to celebrate our 50th independence. And, you know, how can we do that? There's no gallery that exists in Port Moresby, by the way. So no gallery here in Port Moresby, but how can and where can we actually showcase works, our art? And so I spoke to a few artists that are living in Australia, who are Papua New Guinean, and then yeah, we thought, you know, we'll try to do this exhibition, and then we thought we can't just do an exhibition, come over here and do an exhibition. We need to do an exhibition, but also create a program around this sort of initiative, so that what we're offering in the true nature of PNG people is the generous spirit. How do we impart what we've learnt in our experiences, in many ways privilege to be able to learn a lot of things and have materials that we have access to as well, and how can we build a relationship as well and deepen our connections to our homelands here, by sharing, by connecting with everyone, by experiencing, but through the creative sort of lens. And so, you know, something beautiful happens when you are creating together, and we're really excited about what that magic might look like, and what can happen as a result of it. And I think that, you know, we're all looking forward to it. There are 5 of us all together. So myself, there's Leslie Wengembo, who you might know already, or a lot of you might know. There's Uriel Bridgman. There is Jeremiah Newendorf and Serge Awu. And yeah, they're all different artists and different sort of expressions. And yeah, just a good chance for us to be able to come over here, showcase our work, create sort of a union between the diaspora and Port Moresby, and then a chance for us to deepen our connections to each other through our creative expressions and the workshops and the talks. So which we're going to do at Moresby Arts Theatre. And then we're also going to do some keynote speaking at UPNG as well for the entire student body at UPNG, which is on the Wednesday. They usually have, yeah, this sort of keynote speaking on those days. So we'll do that as well. So yeah, it's going to be a full week next week. It goes from the 8th to the 12th. And the exhibition opening happens on Wednesday evening.
Okay, so next Monday on the 8th, that's when it all starts. When can people, you know, come in, get involved? have a look at some artwork. When can they come in, and where will it
Yeah.
all?
Well, it's happening. The exhibition's happening at Harbourside South, where the Marriott is, and it's in the arcade there. There is we turned a vacant shop space into a gallery space.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and so it's quite a big space actually. So it's nice and nice size for us to be able to exhibit works.
yeah.
And we'll also have an opening celebration. I've been doing for the last year. I've been coming back every month to POM, and I've been working on a research and development project with an elder in Purabada village who's 104. So she will be our guest of honor. And
Wow.
you never see people that are past 100 even, or let alone 80 or 90 years of age.
Yeah, that's rare.
Yeah, so she's going to come, and then the children from Porobado village are also going to do some sing and dance and everything to open up the space. And then we've also got some singing also happening from the Highlands as well. So yeah, it's going to be a beautiful sort of opening and experience, and something that Paul Mosby hasn't sort of seen before either, which is nice to be able to do that, especially in light of the 50 years, and really celebrating and honoring the past and celebrating the now, but also what do we envision for the future. And I think these conversations will happen within the programming framework, and conversations that will happen with the talks, but also the incidental conversations with each other as well as we're making together and doing the workshops.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really amazing week. I know like five of you there, just looking, at your what you guys have done and where you've come from, the amount of work that's gone into your own art pieces and your work over the few years, and now you're essentially going back and putting yourself out there without anyone asking, or you could have easily gone, no, I'm good, I'm gonna stay here in Australia and not
Yeah,
do anything. But all five of you
yeah,
have made the choice and decision to go back to the motherland and give back, and
mm,
basically give your knowledge to those young ones that are coming through. And if you are someone that's young out there, you listen to the Uncles podcast, and you're finding out that you've got a creative side of yourself, and want to unleash that. Like, guys, this is definitely an event that you need to go see, be involved at, because you get people like Grace who, tons of experience in the creative industry, not only here, but in America, and, basically all over the world. So jump at these sorts of opportunities, and yeah, it's gonna be an amazing week, I think.
mm. Yeah, it will be really, really nice, but really important for the future as well. What can we do with this? Because this is going to be the first of other things to come, I believe. And I definitely have that vision to create and have this as a catalyst to build something for the future between Australia and Papua New Guinea. I'd like to see, a creative network sort of begin, and I'd like to also see some fellowship programs and other things between universities and academia, but also with communities as well. And I think that having this will also show important sort of people in power to create decisions based on the deliverables of what we actually do. So they can see that we have these measurable sort of outcomes, because obviously nobody's really been pushing these sort of agendas between, fellowship programs or, upskilling. You sort of have to go to an academic university like UPNG to be able to access the creative world. And while, we are all creative beings, and it shouldn't discriminate whether or not you can afford to have a university degree or not. But yeah, so I think, for the future as well, I think it's really important that we come together as creative people and experience each other, but deepen our connections and talk about, because I think it's really important that we have agency over our own self-determined futures. What do we want to have in our lives? And then also have the platform to be listened to as well, which I think is really important to allow us to collaborate and build a future for our lives. So, yeah.
That's awesome, and yeah, what a great I guess dream or vision for the future, which I'm sure we'll be following closely, and we'll be sharing lots of stuff about it too. But where can people, follow you or find out more about the schedule for next week to see how they can get involved?
Yeah, they can just DM me on Instagram. Everyone's got access to like social media, so they can just DM me. That's fine. I'm happy to receive people's DMs, and then I can just flick them the program. And also, if people want to come to the opening, just let me know, so I can give them the details for the opening. Because it's like an invite thing, but we are happy to connect with your audience and have people come who we don't know either, who we haven't invited. But also, I will say that you don't have to be an emerging artist or an emerging creative to access our program. You can be an established person who just wants to connect with all of us and partake in our workshops as well. It's like for everybody, really. And Moresby Arts Theatre is a great space as well. There's accessibility to areas everywhere. And they have a new sort of space that will be launching, I think, on the Friday the 12th, which is it's the largest sort of space. And but we'll be doing workshops there, as well as having the talks in the theatre area as well. So yeah, it's for everybody. We just want the energy and the spirit to be uplifted, and to connect with everybody, and to envision and create together what we want for the future, but also enjoy this moment of 50 years of independence, and come together and talk about the good and the bad and the ugly, but then also, what we want to see, I think is really important. I think those conversations are really important to have, because, we can manifest in the sport, especially if we're dreaming these dreams together, the energy, the focus on these visions, that's when we can manifest things for our lives. So, yeah, I'm a huge believer in manifestation. So,
Yeah, it's one of the biggest things that I'm a big believer of it too, and manifestation made this podcast happen, and it seems to be going pretty well. So it definitely does work. But to finish off, what would be some final advice that you would give, say, to a younger Papua New Guinean out there, or even a younger Grace out there that's figuring it all out, but also might be keen to get into the creative world as well?
like, have the courage to listen to yourself, like, really, we all have intuitive powers. Our intuitive powers, I believe, is our spirit. And, whether or not you believe in God or not, but speaking through you, directing you of what is your purpose. And the more that you listen, the more that you learn to really pay attention, the more that I believe, you have the ability to design a life that can be truthful to who you are. And, what's the point, really, unless we're living out our truth? And I think that listening to yourself, learning to really trust your intuition, know that you are surrounded by your ancestors, you're surrounded by support systems, even if you can't see them. You do have them around you, and they'll always protect you and look after you. So, if you are living out honestly and truthfully your life, and with courage and an open heart, sometimes it's a bit hard. It's not easy to live with an open heart, but if you can do that, you'll reap the rewards, and and live a life that's aligned to your purpose as well.
Yeah, wow. Thanks so much, Grace. We really wish you and the four others as well all the best. And, thank you for sharing your story with us. I'm sure, a lot of people are gonna listen in and enjoy this episode. And also, you just gave everyone an insight into your life and, definitely all the hard work that you've put into to get to where you are. So, look, thank you from the uncles for coming on and sharing your story.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been really nice to talk with you guys. I really enjoy listening to your podcast. So thank you for also doing this for all of us to enjoy